Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
Apparently, 2 is the loneliest number. Welcome to this week's award-winning The Blacklist Exposed podcast. Greetings, one and all. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Eric Peterson, and we finally got Clay on the blacklist. Or is it Jonathan Switcher? Does he prefer Edward? I don't know. It's one of those things. Thanks for joining us yet again for the final season of The Blacklist as we discuss Arthur Hudson. No number, bitch. The next to last episode of The Blacklist. This episode was written by Sean Hennon and directed by Christine Moore. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com. Don't care about any of that. All I care is we got Andrew McCarthy's cameo, finally!
Which I'm happy about for you and for everybody else and the world. But it sounded like you also threw in a similar dig that I just threw in, which was number 2 is going to be left blank.
It's got to be Raymond Reddington. He says, I saw the commercial. I actually watched the commercial for once. And he did say the only person left on the blacklist is me. So I'm guessing he's got to be number 2 because number 1's Liz Keane.
Right. Unless the rumors are true that he's like 00 or something. That's
a weird rumor. It's got to be. Number 2 hasn't been taken. It's got to be number 2.
Right.
At this point. Got to be. Or will you be mad if they don't assign 2? Like
if they don't assign 2, I will literally drive to LA and knock on Mr. Eisendrath's office and be like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Wow. You can drop some saucy language there. Hear that, Eisendrath? He's swearing a little bit.
I mean, we talk about shows like Lost and Orphan Black and all this stuff like years later after they're done. I do not want to have someone come up to me 10 years from now and be like, who does number 2 work for?
Stop by Pepe's house so he can make you up looking like you're disheveled.
Like I'm Edward?
Yeah. That was a great... we'll come back to that cameo. That cameo was fantastic.
The cameo was fantastic.
We've been hoping for it for a very, very long time. If you didn't know, Andrew McCarthy and Jade Spade are long time friends. And he's directed like 20-some episodes of the show. They were Less Than Zero, Mannequin... Lots of love. I
also feel, going back to this number 2 thing, like I like what you were just saying about Reddington has to be number 2 because...
Gotta be.
Like, if we think about the Shakespeareanness of it, the metaphoricalness of it all, like Raymond Reddington was basically an issue unto himself because as he's talking about how, sometimes we do things in spite of ourselves and things have to end in order for new things to begin. So putting him at number 2 on the list, I think is actually a very brilliant move because Raymond Reddington, the character as we know him, definitely was involved with Liz Keane if the blacklist was truly a list of people and how close they were to Liz Keane and his enterprise and what they were finding out about him. So I like Reddington becoming number 2. I really hope that's the case next week.
Me too, because what everybody wants to know is, who does number 2 work for?
See? It's gonna happen for the next 10 years. Make sure number 2 is on the title card next week. That's all we're saying. Please, dear God.
Liz Keane was the most important person to Red, and Red is the second most important to Red person.
Yeah,
to Red.
He's
or put Agnes up there, I guess. We're going to throw Agnes in the mix.
Agnes is not getting on the list. No. Stop it. Just stop it.
Let's take a count. Actually, we should do shots next week. Every time we hear the word pinky, do a shot. And just see how we end up for the live podcast that we're going to do immediately after. So if you're listening to this, check your show notes. We're going to have a link in there for a StreamYard link. Yes?
Yeah. You'll be on YouTube, basically.
Oh, okay. You'll be on YouTube, basically. But we're going to have a live podcast immediately following the finale to discuss the events of the finale, however it wraps up. And we would love for you guys to join us, and we'll try to answer some listener questions as we go or thoughts. And, that'll be the last big podcast we put out. We might have a wrap-up show, but that's the big one. That's the big Mamba Jamba we've been building up to. So we'd love to have everybody there. So check the show notes for details.
Unless we can finally get Diego
if Troy remembers
to get on the show, and then we'll definitely get Diego to be on the interview because he's the other one we haven't gotten on an interview.
He's never coming on. Diego, do you ever listen to these? What the hell, man? I've given your hair so much love, like just blind adoration.
Was it his hair you were giving love to, or was it the hair department that you were actually giving love to?
Well, it's still his hair. The hair department definitely keeps it from moving, but there's a way that he walks and runs that's aerodynamic, and I figure that's just some kind of athleticism I'm not used to. He glides,
floats.
I'm weird. All right, let's move on. Let's get into the show. Let's
roll. Well, welcome to anyone that is new here because they're like, wow, this podcast that's been around for 10 years. Holy crap. I got to go back to the beginning. But the rest of you understand how this all works. We go through the profiling question from last week. Then we get into this week's case profile for Arthur Hudson, not number 2. And then we get into special agent intel at the end of the show with thoughts from all of you on this week's episode, the penultimate episode of The Blacklist, since next week is like a hour and 20-minute movie. It's not really a 2 episode, or it's literally like one cohesive episode from what I understand.
Hope so.
Yeah. But anyways, question from last week was when Aaron wasn't here.
I wasn't here. Thanks, Chuck. Thanks for filling in, buddy.
Yeah. Chuck was back. Chuck came up with this one. He wanted to know, will Jonathan actually apologize to Wrestler for tapping his phone?
53% of you said no. You know the reference. 47% of you said yes. He did.
Sort of. In a roundabout way.
He did apologize, and then he died. Shh, he died. Poor guy felt horrible.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what we do, right? Spoilers. Hudson, you're a dick. So this poor guy, he relapsed and got in all the drugs. It was just very, very, very sad.
Wait, are you blaming Hudson for him relapsing?
No, I mean, it's not technically his fault, but he pushed him. He knew his situation. Anybody who's ever, been in that situation, you don't push someone who's struggling like that. Yeah, he's very vulnerable. So I don't think he is guilt-free, put it that way. And he sure didn't seem like he gave a shit.
Right.
Oh, crap. Sorry.
He's definitely responsible for
you dropped an F-bomb and you just let me loose, so I gotta reel it in.
It's all good. I'll put the explicit tag on this episode. Should once in 10 years, kick me off of iTunes.
Nah, you don't need to don't put it on there. It'll mess it up. They'll actually flag them all. So
that's right.
Just leave it. It's fine.
We're at the end. We're feeling frisky like Red is.
If you made it this far, I don't want to hear about
it. If you made it this far, you clearly don't know us.
Yeah.
Hudson definitely pushed him, used him, took advantage of him in his situation. Totally dick move.
Exactly.
Right? But Jonathan's death is totally on Jonathan. He could have made different choices. He had the tools, he had the capacity. He just chose not to. Which is hard for an addict also, but
it is. And I wonder if that's actually, even though he's driven to go after Hudson for sure, I wonder if that's going to fuel him even more so to go after Red. I did like Red's little, nod. It'll be fun. I hope Wrestler's on the case. One more run. But I wonder if it's going to fuel Wrestler in some way. It's going to fuel him one way or the other.
I mean, think about how many people that Wrestler has lost at this point to Reddington, right? He lost his potential wife/girlfriend, and Ashley, was it? Ashley?
Mm-hmm. Was it? I don't remember.
Mako Tanita episode, I believe it was. Man, that's like season 1. That's like 10 years ago. And then obviously he lost Liz, right? Now he lost his AA person. So yeah, there's a limit that Wrestler's going to take. And I think this is where the whole why we went back to the addiction storyline is going to come into play, of how he responds to yet another loss of life at the whim of Raymond Reddington.
Yeah, this one wasn't on Reddington though.
I mean, it is and it isn't, because he's on the task force. And Reddington's part of the task force, and if you're having an addiction problem and you're susceptible to that thing, you could basically snap prematurely without really thinking through it.
Maybe. I think it's going to drive him. It's going to fuel him. Maybe to take Hudson down. Maybe the whole episode will be playing like he's going after Red, but actually he's trying to take Hudson down because he's so pissed about his friend.
Yeah.
Anyway, our profiling question for next week is, how do you want it to end? It's coming to an end. No matter what you want, it's going to end. How do you want it to end?
If you could write the ending yourself, what is the last line, the last image, the last thing that you will take away from the Blacklist if you were Lucas Ryder and John Eisendrath?
Dembe takes over the Blacklist. That's mine.
The Blacklist is shut down. There ain't nothing for Dembe to take over.
But if he gets the criminal enterprise going again, then, back in charge, because then he'd be doing his FBI buddies a favor too, still be an FBI agent, and or maybe he gets the subservience to come back and run it, but it seems like that's not going to be an option. But that would be, I'm telling you, I am so okay with if Liz popped up and they just bullshitted their way through an excuse for how she's still alive. I'll allow it, just because I think the fact that we had to kill her off
twice
just kind of short-sighted the show
twice
from where the ending was originally meant to go. So
I'm perfectly fine with the way it happened in season 8.
Yeah, but if we kept going, so therefore, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you're gonna rectify this without some heavy Liz action. I guess you're gonna have Agnes play that part.
I don't even think you have to have to play that part. Red is basically going to be doing Red things, trying to avoid getting caught, because Red just wants to live a normal life now because he realizes the error of his ways, and he's trying to come clean, but he can't come clean because obviously he gave that awesome speech that he gave inside of the Attorney General's office. I always said the show is going to end basically one of 3 ways. Liz dies.
Well, that's pretty open-minded.
Well, it was basically
that's like you have so many bases, like that way you can say I'm right no matter what. You got a 33% shot.
It was either going to be Liz dies in Red's arms, Red dies in Liz's arms, or they both die simultaneously. I always felt like it was going to be a Shakespearean ending. So the season 8 ending, I think, is very much in line with what I always expected from the show. So what they're going to do now, I'm going to be totally surprised by, because it's like, even if Red dies, it's not the same type of death, I think, that he would have had previously if Liz had still been alive.
I don't want it. I don't think anybody really wants him to die. They want the world to think he's dead, and he kind of goes off on his own.
They want him to reach out of a window and grab the hat off a clothesline.
And people want some kind of closure on the who is he, right on the nose. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'll bet you we get some.
I think we've been told numerous times that you're not getting a definitive answer by multiple people.
Well, they've already told us they've answered it.
They're going and they're going to indirectly reconfirm that answer.
Yeah, they have, and people are going to do what they want, but I don't know.
Right.
Eisendrath said in an interview that if he has his way, he will be very clear about who Red is by the end of the show, unless the networks don't allow him to.
Right.
Which is very possible. I mean, we've seen recent beer ads, so
I've also thought, like, since season 8, they've been pretty clear.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but anyway, let's get into the actual episode.
That's right, because we shouldn't keep Red waiting, as we have seen. So let's go ahead and get into this week's case profile.
All right, so here's what's going on this week. Man, I feel like we're already halfway through the episode, and we're not too far away. So Hudson and Agent Nixon take the post office to the upper tier of Washington. Task Force 836 is all on the table. The Attorney General is not interested in pursuing legal charges, as he's listening to Hudson now. So the president can wait, because he knows about this task force. He knows more information than he's supposed to. And here we go again.
Clearly, this is an alternate version of the United States, because you got Cooper pissing off the president. You got Red pissing off the president. Now you got the Attorney General pissing off the president. People don't understand how this chain of command works in this America.
Apparently not. It kind of feels like it probably is how it works. So the Capitol breach once again looms, and Reddington is found to be behind the greatest intelligence breach in history. You guys talked about it on last week's episode, but Reddington's behind all of it. So spoiler alert, if you haven't caught up, yeah, he's been bugging everybody in the world. What I didn't listen to that last week's podcast. I listened to it. I fast forwarded and heard some parts. Did you like this aspect that he's got all of these? Did it make sense to you based on the network?
Yeah, like I was like shocked. Like I was like, when I saw the fax machine initially and bugging the thing, I was like, there's no way that Red could have done this in the Capitol. But then when I saw the room with all the fax machines, and I'm like, it's the analog operation that gets everything over to.
It reminded you of the secret room, right?
To the secret room that they were at the end of Nacello that blew up thanks to Townsend. So I'm like, this makes sense. This is how else are you going to get all this information that Red has, unless you're bugging all these states of power and corporations and passing it along to somebody. And I was just like, wow, that's really freaking brilliant at the end of the day. Like, I thought,
and there's supposed to be like 17 of them, right?
Yeah, there was enough of them for like most
room
countries.
for 17. So does that mean you think all of them are like a number plus 17?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't in China or Russia or Israel or wherever else the rooms were around the world. UK.
Well, anyway, Red's handing the task force a lot of keys to a lot of different locks. He shut them all down from room 417.
Right.
And Red chimes in and explains that he deleted his name from the files. Is it high treason if he's not really from there?
Can I commit treason against my country if I'm not from the country? But then again, technically he took the identity of a man who is from the country. Therefore, yes.
Okay.
Because today he is Raymond Reddington.
He is. Yeah, he is.
Which means he is the naval intelligence officer that fathered Liz Keene and was married to Naomi and blah, 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 blah,
but
blah.
Not
but not actually.
Yeah, not actually.
But to everybody else, he is a U.S. citizen. Therefore, it is treason.
And far too many people do not understand that there's got to be a connection between Red and Liz. I just want to say, at this point, I feel like it should be pretty common knowledge. Doesn't seem to be. Anyway. So they know Liz shot the Attorney General, and then went on the lam with Reddington, and that's really all they seem to remember.
Okay.
You'd think in the FBI and all government corners, people would be chattering about that. Feels like a big scandal.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, especially when she got reinstated after the director at the mid-season 3 point. It's like, so what was it like hanging out with Reddington for 10 weeks?
Yeah, something like that. But then again, we promote Dembe and Herbie. We just let anybody in. Apparently the government is wide open. They're just wide open and they don't ask questions.
Well, they did ask questions this week. Remember, they asked that, be like, how did you become an FBI agent?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
About time. So Red chimes in because Hudson takes this to the Attorney General. He really wants to shut this task force down because this is a politician. And I gotta say, I think Hudson's a dick, but I don't think he's dirty. So there's something to be said for that we actually have somebody that, is actually trying to do good work, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we were on a cruise recently together, and Aaron had a whole bunch of money in his account, and every day, like, all this money just kept disappearing, and he kept asking the question, like, where's my money going?
How is this connected to what I just said?
Well, that's just what Hudson was doing. Hudson basically was doing the same thing. He's like, I got all this money in a budget, and money just keeps disappearing to this one task force. Like, I'm just trying
I know
to
where mine was going. My dad was spending it. I already knew where that was going. Didn't need any Attorney General help.
So he was just finding America's dad. That's all he was doing.
Well, maybe the Attorney General can file charges against my dad. Never seeing that money again. Anyway, so Red chimes in while they're in the midst of this meeting. It's pretty cool because he gets Tadashi.
Yeah, Tadashi. Yep.
Tadashi. Thank you. Gets Tadashi to interrupt the feed, and so that they can go through this while Brimley sits in the back, which is nice. Says, leave Harold Cooper and his people out of it. I have more bugs and more rooms. I have forgotten about more intelligence than you could ever know. Cooper and his team have given their lives, and you want to solve cases, but don't want to be guilty of doing business with me. You made a devil's bargain. Did you really expect me to stop being the devil? Pretty cool moment. Great delivery.
That was great. Great line, great delivery. I love all of it, especially when he just like weasels his way in on Tadashi's line. It was so good. Like, hello? Is this thing on? Am I on mute? Are you guys on mute? Can you see me?
It's funny. Just like any guy would be when they're using digital. When they're used to analog.
Right. I love the line too. He's like, I know you have the capacity to see me, but I can't see you. Who's talking? Who's speaking? It's like, you know who it was. You've already bugged Hudson's office. You already knew who it was.
Use prosaic. That was too far, right?
Yeah.
Well, at this moment, Task Force 836 has been shut down. No longer exists. That's what the Attorney General decides to do. The day we're held accountable is today. And so please be candid in your answers as they're being questioned by other government officials. Hudson's in charge here, or Agent Nixon, or both. I mean, it really kind of felt like everybody's in charge but the task force.
Well, I felt like Hudson was in charge of the post office investigation, while Nixon went to basically be field operations to go track down Reddington and the plane.
Right. So what do you think about shutting the task force down? I mean, you kind of knew that was going to happen at some point.
Yeah, you kind of knew that like, at some point you were going to get a cheers moment. Someone was going to turn off the lights, walk out, and be like, hey,
cheers moment.
We're closed. I mean, it's on NBC. Come on. Where's the tie-in?
Yeah,
let's go.
Sure. Okay.
Did not expect it to go down the way it did, but I mean, it was a moment, right? They're like shutting down the flights, shutting off all the monitors. And in a moment, you're kind of like, oh man, it's like, it's really done. 10 years. Like the show's really ending. It was kind of a moment there. It was kind of like, ooh, breathe a little bit, you know?
Oh, and I forgot about the conversation with Teddy about snakes shedding their skin.
Yep.
I forgot about that. And he's just like, I've done that before. I've done that myself, something like that.
Would you shed your skin?
Mm-hmm.
You like go swim in your pool and then you forget to put chlorine in it and then you come out a whole different person? Is that how that works?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
In theory. No, that's what Red said. I've done that myself. So there's some civilian going on. Then they're on the plane. And of course, Dembe tells him that they're on to you. So Red puts it into action to make sure and divert attention and pretend like he would get blowed up, even though nobody seems to believe it. Which I actually liked that for once, nobody believes it. It doesn't fool anyone. Not a single person believes that he's actually dead.
Right.
But I did like that we know exactly where Dembe stands. His loyalty is he's gonna help Red.
Always gonna help Red.
He's always gonna help Red.
Except
made
for
you
that,
feel good though, didn't it? Made you feel good?
Except for that one part in season 6 where he kind of disappeared for a couple episodes until he like showed up out of the woods out of nowhere.
He's got stuff to do, man. Guy's got a life. But I like that. I like that a lot. I like that he came through in the end.
Definitely.
All right.
Except you mean that every time I was on that plane, there were explosives on there?
I like that. Yeah. I like that. And we'll come back to the cameo, obviously, because that was a big deal.
I wait for Aram to show up next week or something and be like, there were explosives on the plane? Every time I rode on that plane, Brad, there were explosives on there? It seems like a total Aram moment.
My lady love and you hit her somewhere.
On that plane with explosives on it? Can I punch you in the face again?
You think he's going to show back up?
No.
You don't?
Nope.
You think the opening was it?
The opening was the cameo. Yeah.
Kind of surprised they didn't hold it for the end.
It makes it easier.
Probably scheduling thing.
Scheduling. Right? It's easier to do at the beginning.
Sure. All right. Well, the Attorney General sits down with Cooper, says, pour me a finger. I'm going to tell you what the deal is. He's putting 836 back on the case. I believe you are good agents. Prove that to me. Hudson is a Boy Scout. I want this done quietly. Your people specialize in quiet, right? I won't have a scandal. Someone is taking the fall, which means someone is going down for this. It can be you and your team or Reddington. Bring him in, or I will recommend full charges for you and your team. Oof. What do you think about that deal? That feels right for the end, doesn't it?
It feels like there's a lot of people in the task force that are going to be going to that banana plantation and hiding from the U.S. government because they're never going to catch Red unless Red turns himself in on the big seal in the front lobby again. Like, bring it all full circle to season 1.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how this all plays out. I have a feeling he's going to... Well, there better be a really cool twist at some point.
I don't think there has to be a twist necessarily. I just need it to be...
I think there does. Red has to dupe us, which means you have to have a really good twist that we can't see coming a mile away, because that's what he's done his entire career as a criminal, and I think he needs to fool the audience one last.
So let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Do you want a twist that dupes us? Because I don't feel like there has been much that has duped us, you and me, on this show.
That's why I want it so bad. I feel like we need it for the finale.
Yeah.
We need a big, massive, not twist in the character. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying how he wraps up his legacy as a criminal.
I would say the biggest twist on the show to this point was Liz actually shooting Connolly. You were like, damn, she pulled the trigger.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, like, Liz
I would say
dying.
Tom was a big twist, but I was just happy he was dead, so I didn't care. Yeah, right? We can all applaud that one. Yeah, that's all I did was celebrate.
Tom's death was a twist, or
the fact that he died? Yeah, I really figured they'd find a way to bring him back at some point.
But they showed you he was basically dead in the first episode, and then they waited 8 episodes to actually make it happen.
Have you seen the show? I still feel like a lot of characters can come back. I'm still waiting for Kaplan to pop up. I mean, how bad a swimmer are you?
I'm just saying, like, I know they teased the Kaplan thing in season 9 with her sister and everything, but I still say Kaplan could have survived that fall. Kaplan could show up next week. That would be amazing. That one I would buy.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I give you $2 whole for that one.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
$2.
So Red shows up at Cooper's house. I hope Donald's still in the case. And now we're about to play cops and robbers. Vios Candeos, my old friend. Vios Cande. I can never say that right.
Yeah, it's fine.
Vios Candeos.
Catch me if you can.
Catch me if you can. I like the way he delivered that line quite a bit.
And
although it's funny when Agnes is summoning him in the other room and Cooper turns his head, then he turns back and you see the door shut behind him. I'm like, look, Red ain't that fast anymore. Come on.
He's got the Indiana Jones legs.
I mean, come on. You know, he's got like 10, 15 years on me. There'd be a when he got up or something.
If his hat is on his
creaking.
head, his hat gives him his superpower. Like he can move like the wind.
I guess. These guys are Soze. Just like that. He was gone. All right. So music.
Yes, we had 2 songs of note that we were able to pick up. Unfortunately, we didn't actually grab the actual names of the songs because it was a little more difficult because dialogue over the scenes and everything. But when we did see Edward standing with his thing, we got a little more Huey Lewis action. Huey Lewis, obviously, tied in with Glenn and the whole thing. So great to hear a Huey Lewis song on the Blacklist. And then, of course, at the end of the show with, Jonathan and Wrestler, there's a great song playing on the background. I just could not get the name of the song or the artist at the time. If I find it, I will definitely make sure to update it and update the playlists where you can get all 10 seasons of music from the Blacklist, both on Apple and Spotify. We got links to those on the website at theblacklistexposed.com. So much good music.
So much. So Wrestler meets Joe, Pritchard's wife, and she says he's doing really, really bad. The FBI is looking for him, and Wrestler finds him. Old John is trying to kill himself with drugs and alcohol. Hudson made me do it. He's listening, Don. And then Don is finally tipped off that his phone has been bugged. But Wrestler even still forgives him, really.
Yeah.
He
gets it. Hudson, they heard the name Hudson before. He understands it was Hudson's doing and not really Jonathan's doing. Stuck in between a rock and a hard place, upper authority, etc. I just like the timing on it all, how Wrestler finds out about it just in the nick of time as Cooper's about to walk into a firestorm and lets Cooper know, hey, by the way, you're screwed, dude. We're all screwed.
Herbie is the reason why they find the plane. Moving on to Herbie, he's the reason they find the plane.
Yeah.
Damn it, Herbie, why are you taking photobombs of that kid next to a private plane of a master criminal? Feels dumb for a smart guy.
He's got to make sure he does everything he can to spend time with that kid and make those memories because if he loses the sitter, the wife's going to really have words.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's frustrating when you lose a sitter. Sia doesn't really have much to do here, but I love a good Scooby-Doo reference. So points for that.
Totally.
Panabaker, the Attorney General, summons Cooper. She meant everything she said. It's been the honor of her life, and you're a good man. So even at the end, she supports Cooper.
Yeah, supports the task force, supports the whole thing. Just Panabaker's been a really great character. Hopefully she's in the finale next week.
She's got to be. You can't, at this point, not have her in it at some point.
Yeah.
We got 2 episodes. We got 2 hours. Got to be there.
84 minutes.
Okay, 84 minutes.
Maybe a little
All
longer.
right. So Cooper, beautiful speech. I love that he said, I'm done apologizing. Done. I thought that was great. It was a great moment, and Lennox delivered as he always does.
I feel it's the appropriate moment for his character at this time. He's just like, man, dude, I just want to hang out with my new kid. Everybody's dying, and it's just, trying to get reconnected with Charlene.
I've only seen her twice this whole year.
Because I've been working on this task force.
Yeah, I've been working on this task force. Who's watching this damn kid all day long? Not Charlene.
So, the speech was spot on. It is exactly where the character should be at this moment of the journey.
Yeah, very, very well done. Really, really enjoyed that. Dembe, no one knows Red entirely. And Dembe knows where Jimmy Hoffa was buried, which is kind of an awesome joke. What do you think about this, that even Dembe doesn't know Red entirely?
I mean, this is one of those, these are the lines that people in the past.
Because he knew who Red was.
Yeah.
He knows.
He knows the backstory, whatever.
He knows the secret.
So it's what does that mean? No one really knows Red's identity. Is that
not identity entirely.
Entirely. Yeah. Which, his motives, his manifestations, his loves, his non-loves, his there's just all kinds of things you can play off of that, including a line to the audience saying like, hey, you might think from season 8, but you don't really know because no one knows.
Apparently no one does know. All right. Well, moving on to Red. So we got really like a fiesta of cameos.
It was great.
We already talked about a couple of them, and Hetty's in this one. She got the bird sanctuary in Costa Rica. Got some Weecha. Weecha's back, and Red's asking her to come with him, chasing the moon across the world. That was a nice little setup. Life is a series of chapters, and this one has lasted a little longer than it should have. Boy, oh boy. I like that line.
I don't know how anybody that has followed the show as long as we have and as in-depthly as we have could not have just chortled out loud at that moment.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy, did I understood. I got that one.
There are lines you were supposed to say and not say at a company. These are the lines that you probably get fired for.
Yeah. There's a little too on the nose. Or maybe they're throwing their own nod to it,
Yeah.
Like, hey, yeah, we've taken the show further than we probably should have or something.
Right.
So Edward and I will be wheels up at 4 p.m. If you're not there, I'll know your decision. We all know how that worked out.
Yeah, but he hung out to like 4:15 because he really cared about her.
So what do you think about these cameos? Before I get to Agnes, what do you think?
Great. I think there's a lot of times in TV where you get to the end of a show and people just start throwing the kitchen sink at stuff because they think that's what people want to do and want to see. And no, we don't. But in this case, the way they did this here, it was Red having true conversations with his true friends, between Hetty and Teddy. I realized that rhymed before, but I guess it does. And Weecha. And it feels good. It feels like the right kind of closure, the right kind of time. He basically made sure everybody else that worked for Morgana and Room 417 all got taken care of. So why not take care of the people that was closest to him? And why not make sure that's last?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like tying it all up as much as you can. I think they've done a pretty good job of these last couple episodes, really giving you. And I've been saying for so long, all I wanted was Andrew McCarthy to cameo, and now I've got it. I feel like I don't need to watch the end.
I'm sure there's people that still want Shatner to show up next week, but
Downey Jr. will be fun. Shatner would take me out of it.
Shatner would be like the Al Roker, like the Al Roker moment.
Look, Shatner is great doing what Shatner does. He does not belong in the blacklist. Put it that way. He could be a fun cameo, though. He could be a fun cameo, but like as a real character. Downey Jr., I would love to see pop up in the cameo just because I feel like then it would all be together. It would all be tied together. And Andrew McCarthy direct the episode or something.
Shatner could just be there in New York or Italy or Spain or Morocco or wherever the hell they're going to end up going and just be like a hot dog cart vendor. It'd just be like Shatner just hands of a hot dog.
He could. That'd be funny. Okay, so Agnes and Red then have ice cream. And have a nice little conversation about Liz. When she was about your age, she made a promise to herself to be special to her life. Whatever you do, this will remind you of her, meaning her mother. It's her badge. You have all the best parts of her inside you. And she asked, are you going somewhere? And he said, yes, but I'll never be too far. I'll always be right here or right there, just like E.T. So he never said the E.T. part, but you know what I'm saying.
He implied it.
Ouch. That hurts.
The first question I had was, when did he get her badge?
That's a good question. Probably when she, died.
Yeah. Did he like swipe it off of her as she's like fallen to the ground and he gently
because he wasn't
her?
There. He wasn't there with her. Did they give it to him at some point? They probably did.
Why would they give it to him?
Who cares? This is stupid. He could have made it up. She don't know.
Yeah, it could be it could be anybody's badge, right?
Yeah. Just threw her picture in there or something. I don't know, but to her, it's real. That's all that matters.
Good call.
So, what do you think about that? Because obviously, he knew her when she was her age, in some fashion. So he's basically once again nodding to the familiar relationship that some people don't want to accept or enjoy, and does say that he'll be leaving soon.
Yep.
So in some fashion, Red is leaving. Some way.
Hiding or dying. One of the two.
Hiding or dying. Those are the two options, right?
Yep.
Or going to jail. That would be a twist I don't think anybody would like. Everybody would hate that if you would.
Yeah, we did that. That was called season 6.
Yeah,
no,
we don't
thank
want to
you.
do that again. Mm-mm.
At a pretzel cart or a hot dog.
Got to
cart.
go out in a blaze of
Pretzel
glory, or it's got to fool us. We already talked about Teddy. Weecha doesn't show, but then Weecha does show. And Reddington's jet blows up just as the feds get there. And Red had that plane rigged for years. We talked about that because Edward's an excellent pilot. And it's Andrew McCarthy. Well, Huey Lewis plays. And we met Andrew McCarthy, and I want to say it's one of the highlights of doing this podcast.
For sure.
Is doing that. Is fun story. If you've never heard this, we were there for the 100th episode, and Megan Boone herself, Liz, invited us back to watch some scenes being shot. And while we were back there, the director of that episode was actually Andrew McCarthy. And he just came over to us like we didn't know who he was. And he's just like, "Hi, my name's Andrew."
Yeah.
Like,
the slow
and I said,
mo
"Of course
that,
it is."
The slow-mo of that was basically us going like, "Oh my God, Andrew McCarthy's coming. It's Andrew McCarthy. Holy shit, it's Andrew McCarthy. Don't act like an idiot. Don't act like an idiot. It's Andrew McCarthy." And you just kind of like, "Hi, I'm Andrew." And in your head, you're like, "No shit, Sherlock."
No, I actually said, "Of course you are."
But you were like, "Nice to meet you, Mr. McCarthy. Thank you for letting us be on set today." And blah, blah, blah.
Super nice guy.
Yeah.
Did not act like, he was an 80s heartthrob. He didn't. 80s and 90s heartthrob. Didn't have any ego that I saw. Just seemed like a very nice guy and very talented director. He's my favorite director on the show. I love his episodes are always, even if I don't like the story, I really enjoy the filmmaking aspect of it.
For sure.
So.
Him and Kurt Kenny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's the only director I like. I'm just saying he's my favorite of the directors. So, Boca Camp left, so I can't bring Boca Camp into this, but miss him terribly too. The ending, I wish it had a little bit more Boca Camp in it, but
what if Boca Camp ends up being the director next week? That'd be a twist.
That would be a twist. Yeah, that would be a twist. Okay, so overall, this episode's done, buddy. Next week, 2-hour finale. We're gonna have a live podcast. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to say. How do you feel about it? What are you feeling? What are you feeling like?
I'm feeling like, I mean, it's 10 years of our life.
Are you nervous?
Not nervous at all. No, I was nervous.
What if they shit the bed? Are you nervous if the ending is absolutely horrible and Red wakes up in Bob Newhart's bed or something? Are you going to be just crushed?
Actually, I was thinking it was going to be
years of your life.
This is the first time in the entire 10 years that Cooper's actually been able to sleep and not work at 4:00 in the morning. So Cooper's the one that's actually sleeping, and he wakes up and he's like, "Hey, you're not Charlene."
Yeah, that would be wild.
I'm not nervous because they've done enough in season 9 and season 10 to keep showing enough of the answer from season 8 that I don't think there's going to be some dramatic shift or change by next week's episode. I think that path is still there. As long as that path remains, I'm good with whatever happens next week. If that path changes next week, oh my God, like my life will be over as I know it.
Oh, wouldn't that be fabulous for me?
For you?
I might start smoking again.
Do something again, that's for sure.
I just be like, wow. So ultimately,
I
am right.
I'm actually really excited going into next week just to, like, there's nothing I have to think about. Nothing I have to remember, nothing I have to process. It is literally like day one all over again based on Red's comments. Like, we're playing cops and robbers. It's like it was before I joined the task force and Ressler was on the 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds of Reddington. And I'm excited. I really do not know what to expect. Just please don't change the answer from season 8. That's my only ask.
There's so many people shouting at you. That was never the answer. There's going to be those people.
Let the hate mail fly. It's over next week anyway.
Yeah, well, next week,
Yeah.
Are you going to be mad if it's left and they don't cement anything? They just completely ignore that thread completely.
I feel like it's been cemented enough. And it's like, if you want to see it, you can see it. And if you don't want to see it, you don't want to see it. It's just like the same conversations we have about Lost. Aaron feels like the show sucked because it didn't answer the things.
No, that's bullshit.
I feel like the show was awesome because it answered a lot of things. No. If you want it, it's a wonderful show in terms of the characters,
in terms of the island, they whiffed that so bad, it's ridiculous. That's how I feel about it. You keep trying to spin it like I think something else. That's the case.
Yeah. But we argue about it and we talk about it because there's things that people just disagree on. And I think that is the hallmark of good art, is that if you can interpret it the way you want to interpret it and you can back up your opinion and have a healthy debate and a conversation about it, then the show lives forever. That's really what I want out of the end of this. After 10 years, that we're still talking about it 10 years later. Hey, you remember that one conversation when Red was talking about like going to Tijuana or something, and how John Bokenkamp actually gave us that entire dialogue 4 episodes earlier in the interview, and then it showed up, and we're like, oh, yeah, that was a good time. Remember that?
That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny.
So
a lot of great memories we've had doing this. And when we are having a wrap up show, which will be after the finale, obviously, we'll probably take questions, but only from Patreon supporters, I would say.
Yeah.
People that have supported us directly through the show. So we want to take a quick second and say thank you to those of you that are supporting the show by going to Patreon. That's Patreon, patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Special big thanks to our honorary blacklister, Patricia. Also a special shout out to our task force members, Judy, Sharon C., Richard, Rory, Catherine, Jens, Cheryl, James, Justin, Cindy, Ryan, Johnny, Lacey Ann, Emily, Jacob, and Sharon B. are all official task force members. You still have time to get the cool gifts that all of these people did, and you can do that by donating at the $20 level or higher for a couple months at least. Do you want a cool t-shirt or a coffee mug? You know you do. You just got to be at the $20 level for a little bit to get them.
Yep, and we're still putting out the podcast early, except for next week, because obviously everybody's going to get it because we're going to be live. But if you want the final podcast early, $5 in the hat will get you the podcast early before anybody else over at Patreon, patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. We appreciate it so much for supporting us financially, but because it's the month of July, we also have another way that you could support us as well by going to the Podcast Awards. That's podcastawards.com. If you head on over there, all for the month of July, you can vote on what your favorite podcasts are in a variety of categories. And we are up for an award in 2 of the categories. This show, The Blacklist Exposed, is up for an award if you nominate us in TV and film. And then Aaron and Mai's other show, The Hollywood Outsider, is up in the entertainment category. So we want to make sure that you go over to podcastawards.com and vote for your favorite podcast, Blacklist Exposed in TV and film, The Hollywood Outsider in entertainment. And if you can, also vote for our friends, the Packers Fan Podcast in sports and the Gaming Outsider in the gaming and hobbies category as well.
Yeah, so please do that. You can vote for Blacklist TV and film and People's Choice. You can do both. The Hollywood, and just remember to look for the thes, because the Blacklist Exposed, the Hollywood Outsider. For some reason, they go by T's, I think.
And it's not it's the. It is
the Hollywood
one
Outsider.
And only.
And the Blacklist Exposed.
Yes.
Entertainment for Hollywood Outsider and TV and film for the Blacklist Exposed.
And
podcastawards.com.
Any email you have. So make sure you load them up, nominate
all the emails you have.
Yeah, because we do not get nominated unless you vote. This is a you thing. So once you vote and we get into the finals, then we'll get to know who wins at the end of September on International Podcast Day, September 30th. And we'd love for you to hopefully win this year, because we've been nominated for 9 of the 10 years that we have been on the air and have yet to win this award. Maybe this is our Return of the King moment. Who knows?
Does that mean I'm going to turn it off when everybody bows?
No, it just means like, hey, here's all the Academy Awards for all 3 movies this year.
That would be great. Thank you if you do vote. We really do appreciate it.
We super appreciate it. That'd be great. Hey, stay tuned though. We got your thoughts on Arthur Hudson coming up right after this.
You obviously love podcasts, but are you also a fan of movies and television? Do you want to listen to a show that reviews entertainment honestly and casts pretentiousness to the wind? That debates both film and TV topics in a fun, good-spirited way, while still getting to the heart of why we all love them so much? Then don't miss the award-winning weekly podcast, The Hollywood Outsider, now available on your favorite podcast app or at thehollywoodoutsider.com. Okay, here's some special agent intel. I'm going to read a few thoughts on this week's episode. So, D.D. Elliott, I love that speech by Red to the Attorney General. That was Spader at his best. Those are the kind of speeches I've missed in the past couple of seasons. It was great to see Red being Red again. Agreed.
Lori Pershner was super excited that they're bringing back the cameos. The fact that we had, Glenn's mom a week ago, then we got Hetty and Teddy this week, as well as Weecha. So super awesome to have all the cameos coming back.
Yeah. Big fan. Lots of love for McCarthy. Lots of love for Edward. So I'm not going to read all those, but there's a lot of them. Lots of them.
There's this guy, Aaron, in here that said, finally!
Yeah, man. I wet my pants, and I'm not saying it was pee. All right. So Dakota Meyer said, I mentioned in another post, that was dirty. Sorry. I mentioned in another post that I had a bad feeling the dude wrestler sponsoring was going to die. Then 2 minutes later, it shows wrestler finding him dead. So Dakota, are you saying you killed him?
Yeah. Are you also saying, that it's a dude that he's sponsoring? Like, he's got a name. It's Jonathan Pritchard.
Not anymore. Now he's just guy. Dead guy. He's just like Tom. So dead.
Monica Stolfa said, it looks like the good old days with wrestler chasing Red are back. Dembe won't. Harold, Herbie, and Sia, I can't see them doing it either. Wrestler will have a beef because, again, he loses another person that he cared about. Poor guy is either going all out to get Red or join him on some island and say, screw it all. Phrasing. I mean, he'll join Red and find out the truth about him and then retire.
All right. Bobby Robertson Arnold. There were quite a few nuggets thrown out by Red tonight. I especially liked the conversation with Teddy about a snake shedding their skin. I agree with you. A cute scene of Pinky and Agnes sharing ice cream. When Red told Agnes he had something from her mother for her, I was really hoping it would be a picture of Katerina or even the letter Red wrote to Liz.
That would have been good.
Interesting. Yeah. Red's comment about making a deal with the devil made me smile. I am going back and forth on whether Red is dying. The way he told Agnes he would always be in her heart by placing his hand over her heart and in her head, her thoughts, by kissing her forehead made me lean toward his dying. However, it's the blacklist. The unexpected is always to be expected. Or just out of her life completely. One of the two. And
of course, you can always read into that kissing the forehead thing. There's someone specifically that does that kissing the forehead thing besides Red.
Who?
Katerina.
I think now you're reaching. That's a reach. Yeah, that one's a reach for you, buddy. Yeah, and that's our special agent intel. Holy cow, was that insane.
Wow, this is exciting.
Is it?
The penultimate episode of The Blacklist ever. I'm so excited for next week. Can't wait.
But you get two of them. So you don't even get one.
Do I get two of them, or do I get like it's
big
one
supersized?
One supersized, yeah.
Well, I gotta say, he better be number 2.
Red better be number 2.
Man, if you're listening to NBC, somebody, Sony, NBC, whoever, somebody needs to throw the 2 on there because it hasn't been used. You can't just let it be.
I got this poster that is, like, it's updated every year from the Reddit community, right? That's got all the names and who's deceased and who's still out there and who's still whatever. I swear to God, if I got to look at that for the next 10 years and see number 2 blank on that poster, there'll be words.
His OCD is legit.
Yeah.
He's already moved.
I will write my name in there if I have to.
All right. I feel like it would fit. That will conclude this discussion. So, and you know what? If they do confirm what you've always said, your name might be on there for some listeners. So that's going to conclude this discussion. So now is the time to recommend The Blacklist to your friend, your enemy, or your neighbor. And when you do, please also recommend they listen and subscribe to the Blacklist Exposed podcast because we've got a couple more of these bad boys coming. All the case profiles can be found at theblacklisexposed.com and everywhere great podcasts can be heard.
For more great Aaron and Troy hijinks, follow us on your favorite social media outlet. I'm at Troy Heinrichs. He's at Aaron Smirks. Together we are at The Blacklist GSM on Twitter. We will not be having a Threads account for The Blacklist Exposed because the show is done.
It's done.
But we do have at The Hollywood Outsider is on Threads. I am on Threads at Troy Heinrichs. So if you are a new Threads member, feel free to follow us over there because we'd love to keep in touch with you even after the show's over. And I get you to listen to The Hollywood Outsider. If you're not a Hollywood Outsider subscriber today, make sure you do that as well because we got some great stuff coming up. Summer movies are just getting started and they're on fire.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff coming.
Art-wise, not so much box office-wise.
And I think in the next episode, we're going to talk about the Tom Cruise effect.
Ooh.
Just Cruise, and that gets people interested. Boy, everybody has an opinion on Tom Cruise.
The Tom Cruise, that's like a lexical ambiguity right there. Is that about the Tom Cruise effect on movies, or the Tom Cruise effect on how he stays so young looking? Or
well, he's obviously Katarina. All right, big thanks for listening. So don't forget to answer our profiling question: how do you want this bitch to end? How do you want it to go out? What do you want? What do you want?
You've always wanted to be a writer. Now's your chance. Make sure you submit those. We'll get those up so you get those in early. Got a whole week to come up with a crazy ass idea, and we will read those live on the show next week.
The coolest of the cool.
You know what?
The best ones.
All right. We will see you live on camera, drinking and celebrating when the Blacklist comes to an end, July 13th at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. It's a 2-hour finale spectacular with us going for 15 minutes afterwards.
And spoiler alert, for 15 minutes. Spoiler alert. Years ago, John Bokamp, very lovely man who created this show, gave us both a bottle of red wine. I kept mine. I think Troy already drank his.
I did, because I like red wine.
I promised I was never going to crack that bad boy open until the show ended, and thought I would never get to drink it, honestly. But I am going to drink that whole freaking bottle on that show. So I think it'll be worth tuning in for.
I have another bottle of red wine that I'll drink out of, and it's a bottle worth red stature in life.
Okay. It's very big.
You'll see next week.
Very full. All right, guys. Take care.
All right. Have a good one. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at 5popcorn. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.